Chad, NBA draft is kind of boring. You and I were out with Clay last night. At what point did you know who the number 1 overall pick was?
Well, I was kind of hanging out here at 6 and P by a little bit, so I happened to see when the first pick happened.
Yeah.
To pretend that I know anything about this Frenchman would be lying, and we don't like to be phony or fake on this show.
Yeah, but I mean, the headlines: Zach Edey. Amazing that he goes to, as high as he went.
That was the shock, and that he's a top 10 pick.
We're underway for round 2, and we'll know, if Bronny James is going to end up as a Los Angeles Laker. Dalton Connect, the steal of the draft?
I think he could start or get heavy minutes off the bench for a good team.
Man.
With LeBron James on it. With
J.J. Redick.
It's great for him. It's not great money-wise when you slip, outside of the top 10. But to fall to 17 in the Lakers, that's a good spot. Because the further he fell down, we were talking about it last night, and I said, well, now he's going to go to a good team. And I think it was 2 picks away, and I kind of circled. I said, what if the Lakers draft him at 17? And sure enough, that's where Dalton Connect ends up. 2 best players in college basketball were Zach Edey and Dalton Connect last year. And hands down. I think far and away better than everyone else in terms of voting and everything. Zach Edey's one of the best college players we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
So, both those guys going top 20 is pretty cool.
Are we sure that those were the players drafted? Because ESPN they misidentified several players during this round on camera. What's going on there, man?
That's not good.
That would never happen with the NFL draft.
That is not good at all.
And you're on ABC, ESPN. You've got Dalton Connect. His name's up there, and you've got another player.
Well, and that was like the intros, the beginning, right, where they're going through the roster of people in the green room, and there's just I don't know who it was, but it says Dalton Connect on what's clearly not Dalton Connect.
Yeah, and you've got Connect with all the accolades and everything else, and then the problem was it was another Frenchman that was on the screen.
I also, in watching some of this and hearing some of the analysis, I kind of went back and heard some of it.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the people that are analyzing the picks are as ignorant to some of the prospects as we are.
Like, in what way? Fran is not.
Fran's good.
He's
when it comes to the European guys.
Yeah.
He's the
that's his lane.
He's the international expert. I don't know that I have a specific gripe about a specific person, but
just
I'm
generic.
hearing some of the stuff, and I'm like, I don't think they watched a lot of college basketball and didn't do a lot of research on these college players coming into this draft.
It's just a totally different game, though.
Yeah,
and they're analyzing an NBA draft where Bronny James is about to go in the second round. Chad, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's going to be the talk of it's a 2-night event, and all the talk tonight's going to be about Bronny James.
Yes.
All of it.
Dalton Connect was minus 250 to be drafted in the top 7 picks before the draft started. And his age?
Yeah, he's 23.
I know, but the dude's going to come in and immediately ball out shooting threes.
He's a ready-made scorer.
Yeah,
he's
he can
not
create his own shot.
He's a great three-point shooter, but now we start to get into, do you want more ball-dominant type players? Because he is that. He's someone that likes to go to work. He gets the ball and goes one-on-one, and he can score at all 3 levels. It's not just three-point shots.
With Anthony Davis.
But he's a ready-made scorer in the league. I think it's great for him that he's going to be on a team that's so famous and relevant.
Yeah.
With Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and I think he's going to be a big part of it right out of the gates.
So Memphis goes with Edey. Some other surprises.
By the way, when Zach Edey goes that quickly, I just immediately think, the Memphis Grizzlies are going to try to do something no other NBA team is doing. That was a shocking, Zach Edey was going to be late first round, maybe second round pick, and everything that I had read. And to see him go top 10, I'm thinking, it's like Greg Oden back into the league, right? Edey's better than that.
Well, but Oden was known
Edey was the number 1 overall pick, but Casey Alexander talked to us about it yesterday. Edey would have been the number 1 pick 20 years ago. But it's such a different game now that he's not as coveted by teams. Or is he? Or is he just coveted by the one team because the Memphis Grizzlies are going to play a completely different style now based around Zach Edey?
Slow. This is like
it changes everything you do offensively with him.
Chad, it's like putting your money in the backfield in the NFL instead of quarterback and wide receiver.
Yeah.
Doesn't tend to always work out.
Is John Morant currently suspended, or is he?
I mean,
is he eligible? I don't really know
eligible.
that. There's a lot of back and forth with him where I don't know what the current situation is. But
when healthy,
John Morant going to work around Zach Edey, who's just this monster in the middle. Yeah, I don't know. It has me interested in the Grizzlies. And I can't always say that.
I mean, people hated watching him play.
Yeah, but I feel like that pick is like you're signifying to the league that we're going to throw this thing back to the 1970s. We're going to go back to the era of the big men, and that's how we're going to play the game now. I don't know. And maybe it's not that at all, but I was surprised.
He had to be surprised too.
I mean, maybe he knew more. You know, him and his agent knew a lot more than everyone else, and he wasn't that surprised. But yeah, I would say pleasantly surprised for Zach Edey, who was not at the in the green room last night.
Exactly. So Bronny goes undrafted night one. That's a headline, and we should know by throughout the show whether or not the Lakers are going to select him at 55.
Yeah. When does the draft pick back up?
Right now.
Starting now.
Yeah, 4 Eastern.
Okay, so maybe not quite the made-for-television event that I thought.
Yeah, but with this proves that they scheduled this prior to Bronny being a for sure storyline and not going back to college.
I don't understand why.
Well, they want to split it up because they can now, I mean, instead of going later in the night, you can just recap all of night one, and then you have a completely different television audience.
But it's at 3 o'clock on Thursday.
I know.
So, like, what's tonight on ESPN on a Thursday night in late June?
Reaction.
You see my point?
Bronny
like,
you've
got the draft, and we're gonna break it up into 2 nights.
You're right.
For the television audience, and then we're gonna play it at a time that no one can watch television.
I am looking this up live right now. According to ESPN's top draft selections, just the top 100, Bronny is number 54, Chad. 54th best prospect. Lakers at 55. How about that?
Shocking that that's the number they came up with. I'm sure that's completely coincidental. I'm sure Ramona Shelburne is just reacting to what she sees with these draft prospects. The shooting guard who can't really shoot that well and isn't that big, as one scout described him, it just happens to be right there before the Lakers pick.
Chad, you know who can pitch? Trevor Bauer. Tomorrow marks exactly 3 years since the last time we saw him appear in Major League Baseball. And 6 days ago, he's down in Mexico striking out 19 batters, setting a new record for the league there. He's averaging 12 strikeouts a game per 9 innings. And he throws nothing but sliders and then tells hitters with like a shoulder shrug, okay, you want a fastball? I'm going to throw a fastball to you. And then just smokes them. He's setting these records. His next move is to sue Major League Baseball. Here's what he put out on social, because he's asked about this. What do you think, Bauer outage? Because Bill James Online, a legal analyst, says that the lawsuit he could file could be $1 billion lawsuit. Billion with a B. And what would Major League Baseball do if they're staring this down? Bauer responds and says, I'd really prefer not to go this route, but if I continue being kept out of baseball as I currently am, I may have no other choice. Let's hope it doesn't come down to that and I'm allowed to return to my career that was taken from me over probably provably false allegations that never held any merit to begin with. Of course, there was a settlement with this, and Chad, he's down there just smoking batters. Here is Trevor Bauer on the mound Saturday night, striking out 19, mic'd up.
I love my strikeouts, so getting the strikeout record was the main one that I was going after. Personally, I'd like to win the Triple Crown, so I know that's been done before, but it hasn't been done in a while, so I'm going after that. I'd like to set the Diablos franchise record for season ERA. I think I have a shot at that. But really on the team side, it's the championship. I want to win. I've never won like a championship in my career. I won a couple in the minor leagues, and it was a great experience, but not in like the big leagues of any of the leagues. So I want to win. So that's really where my focus is as far as the team goes.
So he wants to win, and again, he's making it look easy. He's basically Kitty Powers of the Charles right now. Does he sue Major League Baseball? Does he drive? Over July 4th weekend, Chad? Does he get the jet ski out?
That is America.
Announce his return to the major leagues.
You are witnessing America.
I mean, the dominance with what he's showing. And here's the thing, Chad. The legal analyst was saying, like, maybe Major League Baseball behind the scenes encourages a team to sign him. That way, they don't face this potentially billion-dollar lawsuit. Okay. Maybe so.
It's how the NFL would operate.
No doubt.
To protect each other.
No doubt.
Someone would sign.
But what makes the most sense is you have a guy that is a former Cy Young winner who is throwing 98, sitting like 94 on the slider, and is going to help you win a World Series if you're a contender. Think about the bullpen game on like Game 4, Game 5, and then you sign him instead, and you've got him a part of your rotation. Someone compared him today. I was talking about this with a former coach, and they're like, he's got kind of an Antonio Brown craziness to him. I'm thinking, well, Antonio Brown did sign with a Super Bowl contender in the first year in Tampa. He helped
and won a Super Bowl,
win the title. Now, he went off, to crazy land, but he did help you win a title the year prior. Don't have to sign this guy for long term. In fact, he's already admitted he's willing to take league minimum. I mean, it's a guy that wants to play. He's not looking for the attention. He just wants to get back in. This is, Kaepernick would never do this, right? He just wants his name in the headlines. Dude's playing in Mexico, and guys are getting pissed off at the plate because they can't hit anything with him.
Well, so first off, to compare him to Antonio Brown,
meaning like he's kind of behind the scenes, he's just kind of a mess in the clubhouse. He's not well liked.
No, he's never been very well liked, and I think that's the biggest part of this.
That's kind
of
what they were saying
within a clubhouse. But
I'm talking about a postseason run here.
He's not like Antonio Brown, while funny a lot of the time online, we're witnessing just kind of a breakdown.
Right.
I think with him and everything that he does, right? And we can't get enough of it, but we're just watching the breakdown happen. I don't get that sense when I
don't think it's like
when I hear him do an interview or see him in public, or I guess I'm not seeing him out physically in the flesh, but when you see video of him, I don't feel like it's an Antonio Brown situation. And I will say again, for my Atlanta Braves, who are rolling out Spencer Schwellenbach and Hurston Waldrop as rookies trying to fill that fifth spot in the rotation. Hello? You've got strong clubhouse culture. Well, I'll ask Mike McHenry about this too. You're the type of team that could withstand a personality like Trevor Bauer, and he could fall in line, and he is way better of an option at the back end of that rotation than any other team. So, it's a team that could win a World Series, that you feel like is going to be a playoff team. That's just one example, and I'm sure there's others that are in the pennant chase right now that you could look at and say they could use a great fourth starter that might be as good right now as a number 2 starter for a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. Hasn't pitched in a while, but I don't understand it that he was that successful as a Major League Baseball pitcher for that long.
Right.
But apparently he's such a miserable teammate, and everyone hates him so much that now that he's still productive, no one can sign him. It's odd. And that it took a false allegation to get him out of the league for everyone to admit that he's such a bad teammate. Now we're not going to bring him back.
Well, settling with one accuser, and another is facing 16 years in prison after being charged with fraud following the faking of a pregnancy and asking Bauer for money for an abortion. His quote to Fox News Digital, this was back at the beginning of the year. Anyone that's willing to sit down with me and listen, I'd like to play the second half of my career in a better way than the first half. I'd like to be an example that you can make mistakes, recognize them, adjust, and then be better in the future. I think that's something us as humans have to do and should be doing constantly. I mean, he's going to sign with the World Series contender. Is he not? I don't know how, if you're in the business of winning, you don't bring this guy in at league minimum. And
I don't get it. I don't understand how
it's crazy, man.
The sexual battery, assault, rape allegations, all that stuff that went on, that was the catalyst to get Major League Baseball, even after he's been exonerated from those charges, to just say, all right, now you're blackballed because you're a bad teammate. Is that what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't him being a bad teammate that got him cut out of the Dodgers or any other team he's been on. The Reds before that. It was a false allegation that he's now fought back on. He's winning in fighting back on those charges. I just, something doesn't add up. And I don't publicly see Antonio Brown giving out his Blank of the Day awards when I see him also.
I think it was more of just behind the scenes, kind of like the irritation level more than anything. Not the CT ESPN stuff.
Yeah.
You know. Chad, this story with the Aggies and Longhorns and Schlossnagle gets crazier by the hour, by the day. Let's start with Billy Lucci. Billy Lucci,
friend of the show,
Texags, owner and founder, Texags.com. Here is Billy discussing Richard Zane, the reporter who joined us yesterday and asked the question about whether or not Schlossnagle was going to bolt or not, and defending his guy, but also letting us know who called the coach to tell him he should apologize.
I'm the son of a bitch that called him directly and talked to him about it. I'm the one that said you need to apologize, just so you know. So, yeah, I think
I'm not calling you out.
I know, but I'm just saying, people, you know how people are right now, and I am sick and tired of it, what they did to Richard for doing it, and just every little thing they try to pick apart. So, yeah, just so you know, that was my suggestion, and that was my one suggestion. And that was the one thing that I was not going to not say was in my opinion, as someone that's known you for a long time, I think you need to apologize to Richard. And that's up to him. He made that choice.
Yeah.
So I think it was the right thing to do. People can nitpick and say call, whatever. That's fine. I'd like to think I would call or text, say, hey, man. But that was in front of cameras. That was in front of a whole room, whatever. It doesn't change any of the actions leading up to leaving. It doesn't change the action in that room. And to me, it's not even the way he answered the question. It was going up to him afterwards. And people that were in there saw it. People that see the video see him go this way, right? The exit to the room is that way from that podium. He went this way to go straight up to Richard. And I forget the exact wording, but it was like, I don't think I'll ever speak to you again, or you speak, whatever.
And it was a valid question, a fair question. And Chad, this dude, I'm thinking of it just from a common sense, like decency aspect. He goes up to Richard after asking that question and like going at him in the answer. Goes out of his way to go up to him on the way out on the opposite side of the room, and then goes to a cemetery to meet up with Texas. Think about that.
Well, he didn't go to the cemetery. Chris Del Conte waited him out in the cemetery.
But I'm saying, like, they're hiding out in a cemetery to go then to his home, and he knows that this guy, you see what I'm saying? And he's going up to the reporter saying, I don't think I'm ever going to speak to you again. How dare you? Who is this guy?
Yeah, GTFO.
Why would I want to hire that guy?
GTFO to Jim Schlossnagle, and it just really handled poorly. And having Richard on yesterday talking about it was great. And I hate to go back because the guy's already apologized for it, but I can't help but laugh at Greg McElroy talking about Tony Vitello being the classless one in this national championship game. And this is after we saw Schlossnagle throw a fit and go after a reporter The same way that Greg McElroy's former coach would have.
Yes.
And no one would have said a word about it. It's how Nick Saban would have treated the media that asked him a question that he didn't want, right? And that's what bothers me is, okay, Vitello getting emotional and jumping into the crowd or throwing ice into the air is classless, and the boss should have a talk with him, but we're not going to say a word about Jim Schlossnagle, who's berating a young reporter for doing their job. And then, Hutton, you're right, not only berating them in the moment, you would think if you get up after the press conference is over, you're going to go and almost apologize to him. Hey, sorry about that, tough after a lot. Instead, he goes up to double down getting on to the guy and then apologize to him through his press conference when he took the Texas job.
And then the Aggies fans going at him hardcore. You know, he discussed that yesterday. And then the idea that he didn't speak and they didn't get this deal done until after. Come on, man. He's going to be that irate and then, 12 hours later have a deal done to leave? This has been going on for a while.
It's been going on for a while.
Weeks.
And they just needed to cement it with the in-person meeting is what it sounded like. And him and Chris Del Conte are longtime friends.
Sure, yeah.
So they've been working this out. And it's I just the audacity it takes to berate the guy knowing you're probably going to leave and then to double down on it and then all the fire that Richard took and Tex Ags took over it. It's very unfortunate.
Well, and so...
and it makes me not... I hope Texas loses every game, quite frankly, now with him. I do. I hope A&M wins out in that rivalry moving forward because none of it's right. Was not handled the right way.
The timing,
didn't say the right things. I mean, not that there's a great way to leave Texas A&M for Texas. There never would have been a great way. This was not it.
Also, the timing of it, it's not – the way he handled it was awful. The timing and the calendar for the transfer portal closing, July 2nd, I believe, and you want to get in and get the players you want if you're taking a gig. Of course the A&M players are going to enter the portal, but they have to make the decision by July 2nd. And if you're the last teams playing, you're up against it. So the whole calendar's messed up from that angle, from the college baseball portal angle.
Seems to be a pretty consistent theme across college sports that a lot of the calendars are not what they should be.
Yeah. But
need to be changed.
But for how many years did we hear, you know what, we can't do the playoff because the calendar, you got to go to finals.
So
you got to go to finals. Got to focus on classes.
One other quick aside on this story, I guess somewhat related because Oklahoma and Texas are entering the SEC together.
Yeah.
But I get so tired of hearing about how, we got to refocus and restructure things in college sports because now a lot of people are going to have to get laid off and sports might get cut and this might happen. I tend to buy some of that, and then I see Joe Castiglione at Oklahoma give Brent Venables a 2-year contract extension for nothing and raises the buyout and pays him more money. And I'm thinking, you can't sit there and bitch and moan about finances and continue down this game of he had 3 years or 4 years left on his contract, and you added 2 years to a coach who has gone 17-10 or something in his 2 years at Oklahoma, just so you have stability going into the SEC. Well, you already had him for 3 more years. So let's give him I cannot cry tears to athletic directors that continue to do that. And I'm talking about someone who's been one of the best in the business for 30 years, and Joe Castiglione at Oklahoma. And he's making moves like that. It's just we got to get away from these crazy buyouts. Anyway,
they'll end up paying it too.
I thought about that talking Texas also.
So he's going to earn $7.2 million this upcoming season, Venables.
Well, I just saw that. I'm like, why? No one is trying to hire Brent Venables. No one.
And then it goes up
His
to 7.6.
name was not mentioned at a single job this past cycle. No one is wanting to hire him from Oklahoma right now because he's yet to really have success at Oklahoma. So now let's give that guy a contract extension. You give Tony Vitello a contract extension and whatever the hell he wants in Knoxville. That's the guy you re-up because he's the very best in the sport and everyone would want to hire him. Not a single major conference school is trying to hire Brent Venables. You have to assess the marketplace when making these decisions.
So it's
But instead, we just want to show stability and strength and support.
The average
and give him more money.
Is $8.5 million on average.
I don't get it, man.
They'll do it again too. It will. I mean, what's the bonus for winning 7 games there? You know what I mean?
It
going
defies
the win rate. 7 games, you're going to get an automatic $1 million bonus.
The pay structure and
crazy.
The contract setup in major college sports for coaches is the most out of whack thing in our economy today. You get paid to fail. The buyouts are insane. It is so far gone. I don't know how we get it back unless there's some form of collusion where every AD all agrees at one time we're not going to do the buyout stuff anymore. But that's not going to happen.
No.
Because Jimmy Sexton owns them. He absolutely owns these athletic departments.
Jed, the NFL typically owns every big money decision. And we've got the jury deliberating with the NFL Sunday Ticket lawsuit, the antitrust lawsuit. And I've been thinking, like, okay, if they lose this, what does this mean for the future of how we will be able to consume NFL Sunday Ticket, the price range, which was skyrocketed on purpose because they didn't want everybody having access for what ESPN was offering, $70. Plus, you could have per game options as well for your team only. They didn't want that because if you have that option, if you're the NFL, as a fan, you're more likely to pay that than be forced to go find CBS or Fox for those 1 p.m. Eastern kickoffs and go to your local affiliate. They want to make sure that their partners are happy. That makes sense. But the NFL is going to end up being happy here, regardless. Because much like the lawsuit that took place, 2018, that the NFL poured millions into fighting the legalization of online gambling. The NFL spent a ton of money, and they probably knew that it wasn't going to end up in their favor. But as soon as that was over, they helped structure their own regulations and went into business with FanDuel, DraftKings. I mean, they're making billions off of the ruling not going in their favor. Fast forward to now. They don't normally play the alpha-beta game. They're not into the whole... They just win even when they kind of lose. And they do lose every now and then. But they win. And I think, was it last summer, the whole NFL ESPN Plus partnership was kind of floated out there? NFL media is now a part of ESPN Plus, and they're going to, you know...
It was last summer.
I wonder if the NFL doesn't just offer their own version of NFL Sunday Ticket and make it per game, whatever, and they get the straight money from the casual fan. And that's the ESPN Plus platform that they're going with. I wonder if it's not already kind of being discussed behind the scenes. They will pivot, and they normally make the right decision. And if you're going to have to offer it through, like, I think what Apple was offering a much lower price, and they wanted to have more access for specific teams, the NFL turned that down. Ended up with YouTube, because YouTube and DirecTV wants to pay $350 a year or a season. What would the NFL be able to do if they just structured it through their own platform and funneled these games through the owners instead of the owners? They could potentially strike their own deal with Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, where hypothetically Jerry Jones could get paid from Netflix for every Cowboys home game. And it's exclusive on Netflix. Instead of that, you have everything in one hub. What we kind of talked about with Major League Baseball and what they should be doing.
I think the ultimate outcome here is going to be great for the fan.
Yeah.
I think what's winning here is the fan. The fan's going to have more options for more a la carte viewing of games. It's going to be more attainable. I think it's going to be less expensive. And Hutton's right. The NFL always ends up winning financially. There's just different tiers of winning.
Yeah.
Different levels of it. This is not going to be the highest level of winning for them when it's all said and done, because they were winning at the highest level with the way things were structured before, and that's about to change. And the biggest winner is going to be the fan. What I get so tired of hearing about from the league, though, it goes back to the testimony in this trial. One in a deposition from Robert Kraft and the other directly in the trial from Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell and NFL executives always fall behind this. Boy, our fans, no one has it better. We keep the fan in mind with everything we do. It's all about options for the fan. We're just looking to service the fan in any way that we can. And then Robert Kraft is asked about it and said, no, this was always a premium product. This was never about accessibility for the fan. It was never, this is viewed as a premium product that's going to be pricey, that the fan has to pay if they want to experience. I don't like the mixed messaging with that because we know that it's money that wins out in the end for the NFL, and that's their driving force with everything. It's why they've been so successful. It is capitalism in America. Making decisions to make money has helped the NFL become the behemoth that it is. I also think that there are so many things you can do and get away with it, but eventually if you continue to make decisions that don't benefit the fan, there is a cost down the line somewhere. We're not seeing it currently with the NFL. Not right now, but if you continue down that path, eventually you will see it. And Hutton, this is one that I think is only going to help the fan when it's done.
Well, the cost could be upwards of $21 billion if they were to get a verdict that went to the plaintiffs here, potentially. And this all started with a bar restaurant.
San Francisco.
Yeah. That just, felt like they were outpriced. It was wrong. And here we are 10 years later.
I can give you live updates from the NBA Draft second round,
Yep.
if you'd like. The most Utah Jazz pick of all time just happened. They drafted Kyle Filipowski from Duke.
Wow.
Two of the widest franchise moves that I've seen was Bailey Shireman of Creighton being drafted by the Celtics with the last pick of the first round. Very Celtic-like move. And then 2 picks later, the Utah Jazz selecting Kyle Filipowski.
Injury prone.
Could have seen that coming.
Injury prone.
Could have seen that coming.
Going to be questionable every game.
Oh, yeah, especially after that huge hit he took by the Wake Forest frat boy. That one's how's he going to defend Jokic in a game within that division if he can't handle the frat boy celebrating for Wake Forest?
And a lot of people how's he going to react to Draymond?
Yeah.
Gonna bow up? You gonna flop?
I got a new primary complaint, by the way, based on an email that just came across. I gotta say it audibly because now I gotta use it.
Okay. Make a note, man.
It's when someone is offered a guest, and then you respond and say, yeah, we'd love to have this guest on. And then the response is, okay, let me get you with a person who can make that happen. I'm like, you emailed me offering this person. So if you don't have access to this person, then why am I talking to you? You're asking, will you have this person on your show? When my answer is, we'd love to have this person on the show. In my response, your response should not be, okay, let me tie you into the talent team and see if we can make that happen.
Okay, let me see if they'll answer my call.
I don't understand it. So many things I don't understand. I feel like Greg McElroy. I'm going to lash out at something I shouldn't, Hutton, because I'm mad at society the way he was. That's how he lashed out at Tony Vitello. That was my frustration with society in general that went out with that.
And then apologize for being mad.
This is the type of thing that's going to make me irritated enough where I'm going to lash out at something I shouldn't.
Oh, man.
Will I be forced to apologize about something I say on today's show on tomorrow's show? That's the question now.
Matthew Stafford's wife is apologizing to Joe Cox, former backup to Matthew Stafford.
So not Joe Cox.
Joe was the backup for the duration of the time that Stafford was there on campus playing for Georgia. And, of course, Kelly in the podcast was saying, I wanted to make him jealous, so I dated the backup. Now, this is another, it kind of goes to a bigger question we had recently, but you've got the Off the Vine podcast here with Kelly explaining why she wanted to make Matthew jealous.
Wait, so was he trying to casually date and you were all in?
Oh, yeah, girl.
Anyways, long story short, it wasn't that cute of a relationship at first. I hated him. I loved him. I dated the backup to piss him off, which worked.
Yes.
He was like
that'll do it.
He was the bad boy too. Like Matthew's so sweet and Southern gentleman and all that stuff. And the backup was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Ooh, and it upset him. So they lived in the same dorm because athletes lived in the same dorm, and he would see my car there. And so at one point he like waited and followed me out and got in my car and wouldn't get out. And he was like,
"This is so hot."
I was like, "This is amazing. It's working."
Yeah.
I was get out of my car, and he was like, he's not right for you. And I was like, what? You can't tell me that.
So it's brilliant because, I mean, he was definitely jealous.
Do we have that photo of all the backup quarterbacks again? Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you I think I know who it is.
But so the whole dorm room thing
when
is
I heard
why
bad boy, there's only one
said,
guy in this photo to me that screams bad boy.
Everyone said the pulling up the details here that Joe Cox was the only quarterback that was in the dorm at the time. Okay, so then she issues the apology.
Joe Cox, number 14.
Yes,
in this photo,
saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry." Like,
they're friends with the
friends. Yeah, and she loves the family. It's like, I'm sorry they went through this. It was not him. Okay, but why not just go ahead and say who it was?
I mean,
Stafford won anyway.
We've only got like three, maybe four options now at this point. So,
but now I guess it's not even. And the other tie in here is.
Can we show that photo one more time?
Yes.
Because I really want to know what number 17's up to today. Because I feel like number 17 is the one that's like, yep, that definitely me.
Who's the least
He's bragging
likely,
to all of his buddies right now.
If not,
like,
Joe Cox is 14. If not him, and Kelly's saying it's not him. Who's the least likely after?
I'll go in descending order of most likely to least likely. Okay. 17, 19, 15, 14 was always my number. Joe Cox always seemed like, you had the info on the dorm stuff.
That's what,
But it just always seemed like the least likely. And Joe Cox doesn't scream bad boy to me. You know, when I see Joe Cox, number 14. Number 17 with that smirk and those Bama bangs, I feel like he was probably the bad boy of the group. Stafford. He was like the backup quarterback from the program that was dating the coach's daughter. And that he makes clean up all the Gatorade. He thinks he's going to get put in the game. Collins, get a mop and clean this stuff up. That was number 17. Well, that's my guess. I don't know. I don't want to make Mrs. Stafford have to issue another apology to another family. But that's just my guess. I have no knowledge. I'm just looking at a picture. She said bad boy. I think it's 17.
Now, you can assume whatever you want to. Davey brought this up, though. So the aggregate accounts we were discussing, like Dove Kleiman and others.
Yep.
It was ML Football, another aggregator, that put this news out there originally. News, Matthew Stafford's wife, Kelly, apologized to the family of former backup Joe Cox on Instagram after her story of sleeping with a backup went viral. So that's not what she said in the podcast.
No, she said dated.
But the sleeping with the backup went viral. So then this storm went into the family of Joe Cox. And the other part of this, Kiffin, he's Ole Miss tight end coach.
Yeah.
Joey Freshwater.
Has Kiffin tweeted about this yet? I feel like this is something he's going to join in on.
Has Antonio Brown tweeted about this yet?
I saw where Kiffin jumped in on the Jim Schlossnagle stuff. It was like apologizing to A&M about what happened. He cannot help himself. He's got to jump in. Whenever that story is hot, he's going to jump in.